Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to start this presentation by asking all of you, have you ever thought what happens with your life after university? When I was during my master's program, I had many plans, and I'm very lucky I met two other fantastic women who had the same vision as me, help immigrants grow and succeed. And this was the idea that brought us here today. As many immigrants, we also face several challenges when we arrive in Canada. And communicating our potential value to employers was one of them. In my case, even though I spoke English as a second language, I lacked the confidence and also the skills to present myself and communicate my value. Because as you know, the ability to communicate effectively is crucial, but communication goes beyond your language. Communication includes your story, your body language, and your active listening skills. And yet, 75% of the population has a fear of public speaking. That's 3 out of 4 people here. And also 95% of employers find that newcomers struggle with communication skills. So without these effective communication skills, we as newcomers have our potential restrained. We also lack Canada's diverse workforce because it's being impacted, and our personal well-being is affected, sometimes even affecting those ones who are around us, like our spouses or our family members. That's why we are super excited today to introduce Ally Heaven, your body coach who will empower you to communicate with confidence, cultural awareness, and effectiveness in diverse environments. Through our solution, we also aim to tackle and address these 6 sustainable development goals. And as I was mentioning before, effective communication is not only your verbal language, it also includes your body language and your active listening skills. That's why through tailored exercise, Ally Heaven will help you analyze your filler words, your pace, your conciseness, the sentiment of your message. And through AI-driven insights, it will help enhance not only your speaking skills, but also your posture, your body language, and some cultural communication nuances that can be presented. It is a holistic coaching approach to boost your confidence and clarity to succeed in your journey. Once you download the app, you can go and register, log in, select the language that you want to use. And then, as I mentioned, based on the 3 pillars of effective communication, we've designed this app to tackle different sections. Our products, Storyteller, Listen Wise, and Silent Cues, will help you navigate this journey. And now I'm going to show you how this would work.
Hello. Just to clarify, my name is Ally Haven, and I'm here to help you with public speaking, communication, and interview coaching. How can I assist you today in enhancing your skills in these areas?
I need you to help me to prepare for an interview for a data scientist role.
That's great. Preparing for a data scientist role interview is an exciting step. Let's start by discussing a few key areas. 1, your experience and skills.
This is a gamified web and mobile app built on open source algorithms to enable multimodal user queries and conversations for effective practice. We aim to use Whisper AI and Llama 2 and host it on Google Cloud so that we can serve all the different features that we have for each of the 3 sections that we have built, being the ones highlighted in blue, the ones that me as a newcomer wish I could have had in the past when I arrived in Canada. Nadine, you're on mute.
Thank you, Maria. So as Maria shared, we're passionate about empowering newcomers, Canada, for success. And so we're not able to do that without ensuring that the products we're offering, they're developed in a responsible way, and the risks that are associated are managed effectively. So the first thing that we want to address, Maria, is to ensure that we're mitigating against biases in our algorithm. We want to also ensure that the users are empowered through the transparency that we provide them. The other thing that we want to do as well, we want to have users feel like they're in control of the data that they're sharing with the algorithm. And so they're able to customize their experience. They also have that option to opt out of features that they do not want to go in to actually participate in. The other thing is that we want to ensure that every person with disability, or if you don't have a disability, you're able to use the application in a very seamless manner. We are also concerned about the data privacy and security issues. And so we want to ensure that users consent to the data that's being shared. We also want to ensure that we're complying with all the legal and regulatory compliance that will govern the products that we offer. And as part of our ongoing risk management, we want to make sure that we do regular auditing and also capture feedback. Next. And so in terms of the market opportunity, well, every year, on average, 500 newcomers arrive in Canada, and they come in the form of, and like the Afghan refugee Sophia, the international student Ibrahim, and Laura, the skilled professional. So in terms of our total addressable market, it's around 9.5 million. In terms of our serviceable addressable market, well, that's about 6 million. But in terms of who we think we can really target, it's actually around 750 million, thousand people. So one thing we realize, what we're offering, it does not only cater to newcomers, but right now we're just focusing on these individuals. Next. So in terms of our go-to-market strategy, we want to build anticipation around the product. Well, in terms of user research, teaser campaigns, and we also plan to do partnerships with different organizations. We also, in terms of our launch strategy and user acquisition, we plan to explore multi-channel mediums, as well as to continue to leverage our partnership. And then we also plan to scale and expand. We recognize that Canada has 2 official languages, and we want to scale into the French language after, and also eventually go globally. How do we differentiate ourselves in a space where you have other competing products like these? Well, one, we provide this comprehensive solution. And as Maria mentioned before, we're not just looking at facial expressions, we're looking at your whole posture, your body language. We're also addressing issues pertaining to cultural sensitivity. And we want to make sure that the growth experience individuals have, it's more inclusive. And we are also helping people to become more active listeners, which is so crucial to effective communication. So in terms of our business model, well, we have a freemium and we also have a premium. The freemium is more catered towards the Afghan refugee and the international students who are financially constrained. But we have people like Maria, Prachi, and myself who've been here for a few years in jobs, who want to advance in their careers and have a little more financial resources to pay for more features. And so we want to target those individuals. And we also want to leverage organizations. So we want to go into their, help them with their training programs. And so we're also offering that opportunity for enterprises to participate. So in terms of our financial projections, well, we're assuming that we're able to get 2% of that serviceable addressable market. Or SOM of 2%. And so in year 1, we're expecting a profit of around 620,000. And as we scale, we expect that our profits will grow to around 35 million over 5 years. And this is just for the premium users. And just the picture in terms of the enterprise users, we're looking at, well, starting with 10 companies per year, and then we just continue to build. So in terms of the underlying magic, as we mentioned, it's a holistic approach that we're providing. Just imagine when you got that first job or whichever job it is and how fulfilled you felt that, yes, I can actually realize my true potential. This is what we want to empower individuals. We want to empower them with that experience. We want to also provide that empowerment through corporations in their training program. And so with that, we believe that we could actually start with around 300,000, of which 75% we will use to develop our product, as well as to address or go into market, where we're going to invest in marketing and sales. And with that, I just want to introduce you to the team, Maria, Prachi, and myself. We are all 3 immigrants who came and had to overcome these challenges. And with that, I'd like to say thank you very much for this opportunity.
What
We're
is
on
our
time, so we have 4 minutes and 53 seconds left. Any questions for team 32 can be asked by the judges.
Hi, I'm Danica. Nice to meet you all. Thank you for your presentation. I was curious, how much do you think it would cost to develop this?
Well, in our financial projection, we're assuming about $1 million in terms of the overall development, and this is just a benchmark that we are taking based on what it has cost other startups to do the product development.
And I was just going to add, there is like the first product, the storyteller, that relies on like prompt engineering essentially, and so that should be like, it would be a cheaper way to start to test this and see if it can experiment with actual users, and once we have our partnerships with the newcomer centers and IRCC, etc.
Thank you.
You all did a wonderful presentation. Thank you. I have a couple of comments to add. So you did think through on the, how to do the body language, listening, communicating. And I do love like when we are trying to create something like a chatbot or something like the Ally Haven, the mascot kind of you are having, where you always have to think through how it is like keeping it as a gender neutral, or it is like you're encouraging women bot or male one. We want to make sure that is inclusive. So all those traits I've seen, like you've done a pretty good job. And I wanted to ask, like, did you also think about differential privacy, which is when it comes to in the data privacy?
Oh, yes, we did.
Okay.
So just going back to the risk management slide, there's the option for users to actually use the application anonymously. So you can actually have anonymity when you're using the application.
Okay, good. Okay, thank you.
Hi there. Great job. Great presentation. Maybe I missed this, but could you maybe repeat again regarding the team and the members? Why are you the right team to win in this space?
Well, for one, we're all immigrants who had to overcome the challenge of ensuring that we're effectively communicating and presenting ourselves well so that we can succeed at an interview or even in other contexts. And in addition, as we have outlined here, well, one, I have a background in risk management. Three of us did our masters in artificial intelligence. So we have that technical competency to develop a product like this. And even if we also have connections that we can leverage to help us develop something that's really robust and that will actually be beneficial to the newcomers.
Something just to add on top of that, we also volunteer for different organizations. So it's not only the 3 stories of us as immigrants, but other stories that we've been close to, that we've heard, and the challenges that we've heard before. Thank you for the question, Stefania.
I was just going to add, sorry, I volunteer at the London Cross-Cultural Learning Center and work with Afghan newcomers and Ukrainian newcomers, and my mom also works in this space in Saskatoon. So like we have a good amount of, we've got a lot of friends in the community that we can literally test the app with and also hear their pain points directly. So.
I know, Ivy, you have your hands up. We have 25 seconds left for their time, so I'll leave a last word for you.
Oh, okay. So I think just maybe you mentioned it, but for the freemium model, I'm just wondering if you would consider having ads to help fund your development and sort of like reach.
We actually have that as one of the it's like a Spotify or YouTube where
Okay.
we'll be leveraging ads. Yes.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Yeah, and
One
we can
one
test.
Okay,
question I
right
have.
that the timer is going on, so I'm gonna stop right there for team 32 and team 29. You're up. Do you want to do a tech check and make sure your screens are working? Perfect. So when you start your presentation, I will start the timer.
We are pleased to present Avoca, our AI tool driven to support Canadians to make more ethical shopping decisions. Our team consists of Anna, myself, Karen, and Amelia. We're team toasters and we'll be presenting our commitment to sustainability, innovation, and ethical consciousness. During today's presentation, we'll be taking you through the problem we are facing as consumers, the solution to this problem, how we've implemented technology to support our solution, and the overall impact. The fashion industry, one of the world's largest manufacturing industries, is almost entirely unregulated. Fast fashion equals affordable clothing and accessibility, but also equals the negative impact on the people and the planet. There's a concern and desire to make better informed decisions for ethical purchases. However, tools and resources fall short in providing real-time analysis and guidance. The following slide shows the research behind why fast fashion is such a huge problem. There's a severe environmental impact. Fashion is the second largest polluter, up to 10% of global pollution. There's the exploitation of workers, their poor working conditions and environments, and not being paid a living wage. And approximately 170 million children are being used for child labor. The research shows that Canadians do want to support ethically sourced products. 62% of them are willing to pay 20% or more on sustainable products. However, 46% are not willing to pay because they find it hard to identify genuinely sustainable brands. So there's a disconnect between paying for ethical products and the accessibility of their claims. So here's how we're bridging the gap.
To help address the problem, we are introducing Avoca to you today by providing ethical product suggestions and their associated ethical score from a reputable source. We aim to simplify the online shopping experience when it comes to sustainability through the use of AI. We chose Avoca to represent versatility, natural and eco-friendly, and as a play on words for vocal and advocating for sustainability. Now, Avoca is an AI-driven decision support tool that can provide real-time assessments of clothing products. This tool can quickly analyze product information and suggest similar products with higher ethical ratings, enabling customers to make those informed decisions. This solution aims to empower Canadian consumers with accurate and actionable information, as well as support local Canadian businesses and economies, promoting responsible and conscious consumption. We're different from our competitors because we have real-time assessment, AI-powered analysis, and we're easily accessible right from your browser. No mobile app download required. Now, global estimates suggest that the global market size for ethical customer products have reached over $5 billion. In Canada, our serviceable addressable market could range from tens of millions to several $100 million. About 61% of consumers plan to pay more attention to the environmental impact of what they consume, and 73% of consumers also say they need more information to make better choices when shopping. Now, I'd like to introduce you to our target customer, ethical conscious Emily. She's 25 to 42 years old, a mom, female, Canadian, and is college educated or higher. She values ethical considerations, sustainability, and social responsibility. She's also tech savvy and relies on online platforms for shopping convenience. She's willing to pay a premium for products aligned with her ethical values and has a strong desire for transparency. She's looking to seek accessible and reliable information when making purchasing decisions. Lastly, we plan on monetizing Avoca through 3 different avenues: data insights and analytics, affiliate marketing, as well as sponsored recommendations. Now I'm going to pass things over to Anna to show off our technology.
Thank you, Amelia. And let's dive into the technology of Avoca. So first of all, we're utilizing 2 AI algorithms, convolutional neural networks, CNN, and nearest neighbors. So CNN really excels in recognizing patterns within images. So we're talking patterns, textures, shapes, and this is really great for our use case for fashion items, for fabric texture, color combination, different styles and designs. Then we're using nearest neighbors to utilize the feature extraction from CNN and then run a similarity comparisons on it, being able to tell us what is the most similar product and give us back recommendations. Let's go to our proof of concept of the implementation. So in order to implement this, we used pre-trained model and a data set. We used ResNet 50, which is a known CNN architecture and has a really good ability to recognize complex patterns. And we leverage it with ImageNet, which is just extensive data set with millions of labeled images and very diverse one. So ResNet pre-train on ImageNet can recognize rich and meaningful nuanced visual element feature from our fashion item images. So this is how we did the training of our model. So it all began with web scraping 19 Canadian sustainable fashion brands, which resulted in 7,000 products, images, and details. This all was fed into our CNN model. Our CNN model then scanned each and every image and extracted the feature into numerical vector representation, and we're storing all of this in a DOM file for further analysis and a future recommendation. And this is overall how our system is working. So we're having our end user there engaging with our Chrome extension. The Chrome extension then determines if this specific fashion website is sustainable or not based on fashion transparency rating data. Then once a user chooses a product, this product is sent back to our backend server, which is going through CNN, which extracts the feature vector for this specific product. This is go through nearest neighbors and checked against the feature vector list DOM file and can send us back the recommended products. So great, now it's time for our demo. Okay. So this is our Chrome extension over here. I'm going to turn it on. You can see it over here. And let's go shopping. So I'm going to go to Zara. Okay, so as you can see, the extension icon got red. There's also a Chrome notification, which is disabled because I'm presenting my screen. If I'm clicking here, I can have information here about why Zara is not considered to be a sustainable brand. Let's go search for items. So for example, I want to shop a fox fur coat. All right, so I'm clicking on my image over here. The backend is calculating for us the recommendation. This is a fully functional feature, by the way. And here, as you can see, it's 3 results very similar to the code that we picked. So what we see here, we have the product name, the brand, the overall sustainability rating for our brand. So we only show a score of 4 and above, and we have the value of the brand. So specifically here, this brand is vegan. We can hover over it and see that it uses 0 animal products or byproducts. Let's just try another one for fun. So if I'm checking for black sweatshirt, for example, as you can see, it gave me 3 different product results from 3 different brands. And I can also click on the product image and it will take me to the product website. All right. Okay. So this, you can find the implementation in the GitHub. When it comes to responsible and AI and how we're going to ensure that we're going to implement a responsible one. So first of all, data privacy and security. It's very important. We're going to implement a robust encryption for user data security. Of course, offer clear privacy policies and user control data permission. Bias mitigation, it is a huge one. So we're going to maintain a diverse data set and audit algorithms for fairness and avoiding bias recommendation. When it comes to ethical guidelines and transparency, we're going to guarantee to avoid product promotion from unethical sources, of course, and we're going to provide user insights into ethical recommendation, like why were they made and why the user seen them.
Now that we've seen the impressive technical capabilities of Avoca in action, we're going to shift our attention to the overall impact that we think we can make. Avoca significantly contributes to the advancement of several of the UN Sustainable Development Goals by promoting responsible consumption patterns, supporting decent work and economic growth, as well as mitigating environmental impacts.
Our next steps would involve a series of strategic actions and phases, such as refining our technology, collecting user feedback, securing investment, and scaling our infrastructure, as well as exploring opportunities to expand to other consumer products to reach a broader audience. And in conclusion, Avoca is not just a tool. It's a catalyst for positive change in consumer behavior, business practices, and environmental sustainability. For further questions, please feel free to reach out or connect with us on LinkedIn. Thank you.
Thank you. We have 4 minutes and 40 seconds left. Any questions, Usha? Or you're clapping? Danica, go ahead.
Hi, thank you, team. One quick question I had was, can you use it in store while one is shopping?
That would be part of our next step. So our Chrome extension was our proof of concept. This is where we wanted to start. Eventually, we would move to a mobile app so that you do have the ability to take a photo of a product in store, and then we would be able to suggest a similar product in a more ethical or from a more ethical brand.
Okay. You might want to consider also just providing pros and cons for this item that's right in front of me that's very convenient to motivate me to go, take the effort to go buy something else. And also my second concern was that with the database that you're using, that smaller, lesser known ethical brands might be missed.
Absolutely. Again, that would be a part of our next step. So that's something that we are considering is creating a bigger data set. We're currently utilizing a small data set, and so this would be something we would look to expand on.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Ivy?
Yeah, so two things. So I think it's really great that you're tackling the fast fashion issues. My other question is, like, I think one of the other biggest culprits is electronics. Like, would that be something also on your expansion?
Absolutely. Consumer products and fast fashion was where we were focusing on just for a very specific use case, but there's a huge potential to expand this to other consumer products, including things like electronics.
And then another question too is, I guess my question is, well, kind of like with fast fashion, because it is fast, and electronics is also fast too, maybe not as fast. How often would you need to retrain, right? Because if you're using your CNN to look at things like fabric, and then also what other types of metadata would you need to incorporate, like, public filings, news about, fires and things, from these shops. So just wondering if you've looked at that.
Anna, did you want to address the question regarding the technical?
Yeah, sure. So we are using we're using transparent data set index. So there are already data out there about how sustainable companies are. So we are not in charge of checking it. We are using data out there and incorporating it in our system. There is, when it comes to training, yeah, we still need to fine tune and train more for you to be able to identify different posture and diversity. But I guess I think the challenge here is to keep being on point of what product is available, keep scanning the available products and such. I think that once we because we're basing it on some data that we already have about transparency, so this is not an issue that we consider at this time.
Okay, we have 1 minute and 12 seconds left. Ian? Hey.
I just dropped my hand instead of going off mute. I think there are some truly tremendous ideas in this work. I just sort of had a question for you, sort of on the theme of how this evolves over time. I'd be curious about you mentioned that the sort of key data element here are ratings of sustainability that are really outside of your control. Those are handled by another organization, which raises a question about how organizations make that sustainable list so that they end up in the choice set for your recommendations, as well as the potential for individual organizations to engage in sort of ethics washing by setting themselves up to make that list. But who knows if that particular brand of black sweaters is actually necessarily the sustainable choice. So just wondering if these thoughts have sort of come up in any of your discussions as a team and what your plan would be to tackle those ideas.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Fashion Transparency Index is actually where we collected our ethical recommendations from, and they base their ethical considerations on a number of different factors. So there's actually a long list of criteria that's available on their website, but they do look at items such as related to people, so workforce labor, etc., environmental concerns, as well as products. So if it is sustainable, if it's recyclable, etc. So they actually have a number of different criteria, and we chose the Fashion Transparency Index because it is widely used. So there's a number of different organizations that rely on their index as well.
Usha, I know you have your hands up, but for fairness, I'm going to stop right there. Team 9, you're up. You want to do a tech check?
Yep. Do
you want to go on a presentation mode? Okay, perfect. When you start your presentation, I'll do a 15-minute time check.
Okay.
Okay. Are we all ready to start?
Yep.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. We are Team 9 Legislatives. Today, Sabrina, Nana, and I will share how we leveraged AI to tackle gender disparity in legislature.
Amazing. Elaborating on the social issue of gender inequality. Gender inequality is a pillar of major international frameworks. It's number 5 on the UN Development Goals. And in the context of this hackathon, it's part of the World Economics Forum to Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. As 3 women about to embark on our careers, we were truly shocked about the power imbalances that exist. In terms of heads of state, women lead only 26 of 195 countries as of 2023. And in terms of cabinet members, just 22.8% of women lead a ministry or policy area.
Interesting. Imagine a world where women have equal representation and influence in decisions that affect their lives and the lives of others, where women are respected, valued, and empowered in every sphere of society. Sounds like a utopia, right? Well, it's not. It's a realistic and achievable goal that we can work towards. And this brings us to our problem, where women are grossly underrepresented in the highest positions of power. And in fact, at a current rate of 4.2, it will take 130 years to achieve gender parity in these roles. This moves us into our solution. Legislative's website is an interactive website that aims to increase the number of women in national legislative roles. Also available on the website is the causal factor analyzer and the career mentor chatbot. The causal factor analyzer uses data from the UN to identify and visualize the factors that affect women's participation in politics. It has a Tableau dashboard that uses the insights from the causal factor to visualize these factors as well. And then the career mentor chatbot uses generative AI to provide personalized guidance and support to women who want to pursue legislative roles. Now, moving into the demo session, I would like to mention that we have a variety of resources available on the website, and I encourage everyone here to take a look at the website and have a feel of how it looks like. So going to the causal factor analysis, the visualization of the causal factor analysis, we have 3 different charts over here. And in the first charts, we are able to see the number of seats held by women per country. And this is shown by the shade of the color and then the shape, the size of the bubble as well. And from this, we can tell that Rwanda, with 63.8 as of 2015, had the highest number of women in legislature, which showed that they were doing something good in that country in that year. Now, moving to the second chart, we have the global average of causal factors. And from the global average that had been ranked, we saw that public education was the highest cause of a reduced number of women, female represented in the legislative roles. And what this tells us is that we need to multiply our efforts into public education initiatives to be able to reduce this. Now, the third chart is basically an advanced version of the second chart, just that with this, you can go into specific countries to look at how the causal factors behave. So looking at a country like Armenia, you can see that public education was also the leading cause of women, the underrepresentation of women in the legislative roles as well, with a very huge margin over here. So what this tells the government and policy-making bodies in Armenia is that they have to increase their initiative and efforts and then pump in more money into public education. Moving on, we go to our career mentor chatbots. So the career mentor chatbot has been trained on the insights we obtain from the causal factor analyzer. And because of this training, as a user, for example, I'll go into the chatbot and then I'll ask, maybe I come from Armenia and then I want to go into governments or into any legislative role. So advise me, what can I do? Because the chatbot already has information and the background knowledge of how the causal factors are in Armenia, it's able to tailor and then give specific recommendations to this user who would now implement it in their life. And hopefully their career journey would lead them straight to the government roles they are seeking. We have a host of, the website is an educational hub, and we have a host of other information, links, videos, and pictures and anything concerning what is happening around the world and in your country as well. It's country specific and global. And moving on.
Awesome. So how did we get these amazing results? Nana alluded that our causal factor analyzer leverages traditional AI, and we've explained the whole process of how we've developed it here. But what I really want to draw your attention to is the data acquisition and data cleaning. We leveraged 8 formerly unrelated UN data sheets and then really tried to be responsible and methodical in how we dealt with all of these missing variables and missing, I guess, observations to kind of come up with a formidable result. So first we had to work on our target year. 2015 was common to all of our causal variables. And then we imputed longitudinally backfilling based on the country's available data, and then globally imputing, which was careful not to inject any bias. And then we moved into a cat boost gradient model, which I can explain a little bit later on the next slide. But what we really want to emphasize is, based on our research, we can conclude that this is the first instance of AI-powered causal analysis for female representation. We disclaim, though, that while this is a great place to start, correlation does not equate to causation, but it's a first foray. Moving to the results. So we use the Shapley values library to assess which feature variable had the most effect, holding all other variables constant. The results came from the algorithm, which was based, cat boost, which was based on decision trees and helped us solve for categorical features using permutations. Our global causal factors overall, Nana touched on public education expenditure, but what we found that was surprising was maternal health and infant mortality were also quite significant. So in countries that emphasized women's health, we also found women better represented in places of power. Also, not surprisingly, employment in industry was a significant factor, and getting women into the workforce helps them build their networks and launch into their political careers.
Okay, following our traditional AI approach, we promoted the causal factors identified from the cat boost using an interactive chatbot. Next, this chatbot, powered by OpenAI and trained on legislative context, serves as a women in leadership coach. It provides guidance and action plans, accessible in beta on our website with an intuitive English interface.
We'd like to mention that Legislative website is not just your everyday AI tool, but it's a movement we hope to grow bigger to influence several policy changes globally and provide a safe space for women to learn and grow with wonderful and excellent resources made readily available. So we plan to leverage our monthly analytics on all website traffic activity, and this will enable us to tailor our outreach initiatives and awareness programs towards women, governments, policymakers, and companies. Together, we'll be able to reduce the causal factors and increase female representation in these spaces one day at a time. The future for the website is very bright. We intend to update the dashboard in real time through setting up a data ingestion pipeline from additional sources and including more measures to identify causal factors. Also, the website is currently based on just legislative roles, and we intend to also extend this to other industries with more data as we get more data sets as the time goes on. Now, the career mentor chat bots will also be continuously be trained on insights that we get to make it more efficient and make it work well. The platform will help us in securing potential partnerships with organizations interested in gender equality on variations of awareness and initiative programs. In the end, we hope to build a strong community of women who help each other and receive help for a better career journey. Usually, glass ceilings are imposed on women, and we hope our community will embolden them to shatter through these habitual ceilings. Now, moving on.
Amazing. Let's shatter those ceilings together. What sets legislators apart? Well, we used innovative methods. We're the first to address diversity, equity, and inclusion for women in places of power using a blend of traditional and our generative AI techniques. We're feasible and accessible. Our MVP is available today, and 2/3 of the world has access to internet where they can leverage legislators. We're a holistic solution. We want to inform policymakers, build communities, and educate individuals. And of course, we're responsible AI. We're non-pejorative. So just because a country lacks in a given causal factor, we want to invite them to use AI to inform and inspire, to grow. We want to break gender biases and not multiply them.
Well, our approach is innovative. We recognize potential risks associated with AI. Legal considerations arise when the chatbot recommends third-party content, and we assure proper copyright attribution. We try to avoid bias in our analysis by systematically imputing a diverse array of causal factors. We also prioritize secure communication, the chatbot, following OpenAI's guidelines. We believe that well-defined risks make for feasible development. Our team brings diverse expertise. Sabrina, an engineering valedictorian and entrepreneur. Nana, an accomplished petrochemical engineer. Me, with a STEM background. We are eager to contribute our skills to address challenges faced by women in legislature. We are women for women. And please feel free to scan the QR code and check out our website, and we are happy to take any questions you have.
We have 4 minutes and 1 second left. And any questions from the judges?
Hi, great presentation. We are women for women, of course. I have a question regarding, you did use Shapley for the global representation, right, to find out. And I also want to know, like, when you did that, I captured a screenshot where you mentioned that the factors were maternal health and employment in industry. Did you also try to find the local representation? What was the causal factor?
I guess I'll take that question. No,
Okay.
not as yet. So we just had we struggled a lot with our data acquisition and collection and imputing in a realistic way. But like Nana had mentioned, we're looking forward to phases 2 and 3 of this project, where we really get to dig deeper.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So, but the CAD boost is what you guys used, right? What you all women used it. Okay, awesome. Okay, thank you. That's all my question.
Any other questions from the judges?
I have one question, and please correct me if I'm wrong. Are you for profit or non-profit?
We are non-profit.
Not-profit. Okay.
Yeah.
Just wondering about the business model slide, if it existed or not. Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Any other questions from the judges? Okay, thank you, Team 9. And now Team 22.
Can Team 22 start their presentation?
Yes, I'm just going to share my screen.
Okay.
Are you able to see the screen?
Yes, whenever you're ready.
Okay, bear with me one moment. Okay. So thank you everyone for being here today. We're Team 22, Babe Scott Bites, and we're going to present Companion Care, our ML solution that predicts the risk of loneliness in long-term care facilities. Our team consists of Janice, Linda, and myself, 3 U of T Health Informatics master students, and our lovely mentors, Lucia and Ikram. Our team has previously had experience working with the Canadian Institute for Health Information, or CIHI for short, the Ministry of Health in long-term care research, and in a deep tech startup. During the pandemic, the public lost trust in long-term care facilities when they saw rising cases of neglect and death of their loved ones. To regain their trust, we must be proactive in implementing transparent and accountable measures that reestablish confidence in the system. Reports of loneliness in older adults have surged up to 67% during the pandemic and have been linked to a 45% increase in the risk of premature death, comparable to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Its impact extends beyond one's physical, mental, and emotional well-being, influencing their social circle and burdening the health system. Currently, there's no efficient way to identify loneliness in residents promptly, hindering timely intervention and resulting in ineffective resource allocation and compromisation of patient care, fueling distress. To address the broken trust in long-term care facilities and increase residents' quality of life, provincial and federal initiatives have been enacted that place emphasis on transparency, accountability, and patient safety. We can't fix something without measuring it, and we can't fix something forever. So we must take a proactive approach to address lonely and long-term care facilities. By proactively measuring and predicting risk, we have the power to prevent loneliness on a large scale. Our approach aligns with the World Economic Forum's diversity, equity, and inclusion priority groups, age and generation, and level of health. Our approach will also align with the Institute of Health Improvement's frameworks for health transformation, the quintuple aim, which seeks to enhance the patient care experience, address population health, improve health professional work life, and reduce the cost of care. All of these efforts will be undertaken with the explicit intention of enhancing health quality. The model we are creating will predict the likelihood of experiencing loneliness within the next 3 months and will produce risk scores categorized as low, medium, and high. To make the model robust, we need large amounts of high-quality data. We've opted for inter-eye long-term care facility assessments, which is conducted quarterly. This dataset charts a holistic view of residents, encompassing over 300 elements that assess psychosocial well-being, cognitive function, mood and behavior, as well as activity patterns. It also has well-defined binary variables that assess loneliness. The data is structured and well-documented, and as the most frequently collected inter-eye dataset, there are a lot of data points available. It's highly feasible to obtain through CIHI and inter-eye partners, and it abides by privacy regulations as the data is de-identified. During the phase of the model development, we will first identify predictors of stability and change in loneliness through literature, such as living arrangements, life events, and socialization. To produce a categorical outcome from a binary variable, we will train a logistic regression model to determine the odds of becoming lonely before the next inter-eye assessment, with considerations to the good machine learning practices for healthcare. Validation and testing of the model will assess accuracy, generalizability, over and under fitting, and robustness. Once the model is created, the user interface will then be co-designed with clinicians to ensure usefulness and ease of use in the clinical environment, and will undergo silent testing before deployment to long-term care facilities.
Now, moving on to the market landscape of our solution, there are 2,076 long-term care facilities in Canada currently, and the infographic provides a visual of where they're located by province. So the facilities vary in ownership, enabling us to customize our services to align with the specific needs and structures of each ownership type. Even though AI in healthcare has become a buzzword overnight, it is now valued at $22.5 billion. We aim to target the market for ML solutions in mental health specifically, which is at 585 million globally. We know that the market exists and it is projected to continue growing at 37.2% annually. Given the government's rising interest in fixing long-term care and the decreased stigma surrounding mental health, there is a big market for our solution. The current solutions that exist in the market utilize natural language processing to predict loneliness. However, none of these solutions, A, use existing assessments and can be integrated into the electronic medical records, an EMR for short, which stores patient health data, B, contribute to patient-tailored care, or C, optimize the resource allocation of an organization. Our solution does all three. The AI algorithm is integrated into the long-term care facilities EMR through an API, primarily aiming to provide the quality improvement coordinator or the recreation coordinator with an insights dashboard, predicting which resident is likely to experience loneliness and when. Using their expertise and these insights, coordinators can then develop targeted programs for loneliness alleviation, fostering patient-centric care. Additionally, our solution extends to frontline staff through alerts in the residents' EMRs, and these alerts signal the risk of loneliness, making them more cognizant of the patient's condition, similar to a drug allergy alert before they provide care. Finally, a quarterly loneliness improvement report offering data-backed insights will evaluate the effectiveness of the AI solution. So this report for the director of care of the institution is crucial for conveying progress to stakeholders and investors, essential for ongoing funding by the government. So the current business model operates on a subscription basis with individual long-term care facilities or a long-term care facility network engaging through a subscription agreement subject to renewal. This model is compatible with pilot projects and allows our clients the flexibility to scale their usage to the needs of their care facilities. It also ensures that we can put in a data sharing agreement in place where we serve as the electronic service providers, giving us the right to work with personal health information from EMR data. So we've spoken with several industry professionals across various organizations and crafted a go-to-market timeline. The initial 2 years will focus on accessing data sets, developing and validating our model, and also potentially partnering with research entities like Vector Institute or the Institute for Clinical Evaluative Sciences, ICES. Following model validation, we plan to pilot a project in a long-term care home to refine end user requirements. By the 4th year, our goal is to integrate into EMRs, gaining project recognition and trust across the country. From a feasibility standpoint, the time estimation is dependent on the headcount of our team working on this project, and we acknowledge the possibility of more competitors by the time we deploy our solution. However, we are confident in the training of our model, and it is differentiated in both the co-design with providers and the ability to integrate directly into the EMR. Some limitations of our project include the risk bias of our model through the nature of the model and the data sets. Additionally, the nature of our partnerships with funding organizations is controlled by external interests, which have an inherent risk. However, our next steps involve retraining the model using EMR data upon the validation stage to enhance accuracy and provide more timely predictions. We hope to contribute to the government's efforts in establishing a more trusted long-term care system. Here are our references, and thank you for listening to our presentation. We're happy to take any questions now.
We have 6 minutes, 32 seconds left for the Q&A. Stephanie, please go ahead.
Hi, guys. Great product, great presentation. My question is around one of the slides. I believe it was your competition slide. You mentioned that you're going to be the only ones that's going to be able to integrate with EMRs. Can you explain why competitors have not been able to do that? Why would you be the first ones to accomplish that?
Yeah. So currently the two competitors within McMaster University and UCSD, they're also similar to us in doing research projects. They're using natural language processing, and they're doing more like, they're collecting data through more unstructured interviews. And eventually they hope to improve loneliness strictly through conversations and from more of like a artistic perspective, rather than for us, we plan to integrate this into the system. So we would have to use EMR data specifically
And how easy will it be to collect the data from the EMR? Because there's quite a lot of, basically, what's the strategy to get access to that?
Yeah, exactly. So after we train with the inter-eye data set, we'll know which variables are strong predictors of loneliness. And then from there, we can then, through co-design with the long-term care facilities, we'll be able to get access to the EMR because we're going to be electronic service providers. And so that's a direct vendor to facility agreements. And so we're able to collect the data through them without having it be de-identified for PHIPAA compliance, which is the privacy legislation in Ontario specifically. So we'll have, we believe it would be easy to access that data set, and then we'll continue to train it based on those specific variables that we know are correlated to loneliness.
Ivy?
Hi. So a couple of questions and they're related. So I think one of the things is that you did show the business model for the product itself for your SaaS service. But my question is, can you actually provide a quantification of the cost of loneliness to the people experiencing loneliness? And then somewhere, and maybe I missed this part, but what are some of the concrete actions that you would prevent to or take to prevent further loneliness?
Again, I can try and start this question. So your first question is about more of like cost relating to loneliness on the healthcare system, right?
Yeah, on the patient side.
Yeah, on the patient side. So it's not clinically diagnosed. It's like anxiety or depression. However, it is emotion that is very commonly experienced through interviews with the aging population specifically. And so we determined through this that is a very important variable. As for cost, I think with healthcare, there's a lot of comorbidities. So loneliness, even though there's not a direct correlation, it could spiral and cause a lot of other diseases, as Marie mentioned in I think the second slide. And so that can escalate costs. And we know that if it's associated with, heart disease or other forms of other more severe physical manifestations of health, that has costed our health system billions of dollars. So that's how we see it. This is helping with one aspect of it. Sorry, do you mind repeating your second part?
Oh yeah, the second part is so it identifies loneliness, like your companion care will identify loneliness, but what are some things that we can act on once we do identify like the lonely people? Like what would we do?
Yeah. Oh,
I can take this question if you want, and you can add on to it. So I think one of the things that we were providing with our product was a dashboard for the quality improvement and recreation coordinator. And so they could be attentive to those who have been flagged as high-risk loneliness patients in hopes that they could adapt their recreational models, for example, to engage the residents to participate. Also, since this is also being added to the care team, through the EMR, the care team can note it, and then they could, I guess, identify how to best approach it based on the patient's needs as well.
Okay. Yeah, just to tag on, there's also currently behavioral support programs and other initiatives that are existent in long-term care homes, but they're very generic to a large population. And we find that loneliness is very specific to each individual, and it could be caused by different situations. So through these actionable insights, and they're specific to the patient, we'll be able to create patient-centric care, which is one of the value propositions of our service.
Okay. Cool, thanks.
Okay. So we have 2 more minutes, and next, Ian.
Just building on Ivy's question, you mentioned actionable insights, and I'm wondering how the team plans to make the insights actionable. Would you be including some of these predictors, personalized, like specific predictors in the recommendation to the agent, or as part of the guided intervention? And if so, I'm wondering if you can sort of elaborate or expand upon whether the team has given any thought to how you may examine some of those predictors prior to suggesting them as part of an intervention. I'm just thinking that often some of those predictors may really be sort of outside of the realm of an individual's control.
Marie, do you mind going to the slide with the dashboard and the user experience possible, please? Yeah. So if I'm interpreting your question correctly, you're wondering how we know that these insights will be actionable and how they can oh, sorry, do you mind just repeating the last
super quickly, and sorry, there's no time. So really the idea is you're saying someone is at an elevated risk, and that risk is driven by a number of factors. Are you planning to sort of present those factors as proof behind the risk, as part of the alert to frontline staff? If so, any consideration to how you may sort of assess those factors as to whether or not it's appropriate to include them in the recommendation?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that's where co-design comes in. So we're planning to work closely with long-term care facilities, and based on their governance structure, there's a director of care that has like a clinical background and they're well versed in these like areas. So we hope to work closely with them to make sure these are actually variables that they've seen in their own patients and are like proven that are correlated to loneliness. And from there, we hope to continue to redesign our model to make sure it's more accurate. I hope that answers some bit of the questions given the time.
Thank you. Thank you, Team 22. So the next team to present is Team 6. Are you ready, Team 6, Data Genesis?
Yes, I will share my screen now. Okay, can everyone see?
Whenever you're ready. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone. We are Team 6 Data Genesis, and we are both health informatics students from the University of Toronto. My name is May, and I'm here with my teammate Natasha to present how our service can revolutionize research using AI augmentation and synthetic data through a case study. So let's start off with a larger context. Equity, diversity, and inclusion, also known as EDI, has been an emerging topic in the healthcare space in the past few years, skyrocketing especially after the COVID-19 pandemic, which highlighted system-level inequities. Despite all the attention that EDI has been getting, however, it remains a problem in research. Certain populations and communities may be hard to reach using standard recruitment methods, leading to smaller available pools of eligible participants for recruitment. Since many research projects have limited funding and resources and must adhere to a timeline, we often miss out on these harder to recruit populations. This results in biased sample data and research findings that may not be generalizable for all populations. So to better illustrate this issue, our presentation will focus on inequities in cardiovascular research as a case study. Cardiovascular disease, also known as CVD, is the leading cause of death for women globally. In Canada, it is one of the most costly diseases, totaling $10.6 billion in direct and indirect costs. CVD encompasses conditions such as stroke, heart attack, heart failure, and arrhythmia. Now, due to the differences in clinical presentation of symptoms for heart failure, women are often underdiagnosed. The Framingham Heart Study reported that when heart failure does occur in women, their survival rates were much lower and their risk of death were higher than that of men. Now, arrhythmia is any abnormal rhythms of the heart, and without proper rhythm, the heart doesn't work as effectively, contributing to increased risk of heart failure. Electrocardiograms, or ECG, is the most common test for diagnosing arrhythmia. Currently, there are machine learning models that are used as tools for detection of ECG signatures and patterns that are unrecognizable by the human eye. These ML models leverage perioperative data to detect undiagnosed heart failure with good performance. However, current algorithms also encounter challenges in achieving clinically relevant accuracy and sensitivity levels. These low prevalence of diagnosed heart failure in women often results in low positive predictive value and for clinically meaningful sensitivity thresholds to be actionable. Additionally, the current method of scaling positive cases are ineffective as they do not generate entirely new data. So this brings us to our case study question. How do we improve the quality of ML training data to improve the accuracy of arrhythmia detection in women?
So to solve this problem, we are proposing a service where we will create an AI model for researchers that is customized for heart failure in women, and they can use this model to generate synthetic data. The process of creating the model involves 2 steps. So in step 1, we use AI data augmentation on existing ECG waveform datasets to create the training data for step 2, where we train a diffusion model to create synthetic ECG waveforms. We'll now look at these steps in more detail. So the purpose of data augmentation is to artificially increase the dataset size And this has the result of lowering the risk of overfitting. And as you can see from this graph, it also improves test accuracy. The reason augmentation is particularly useful in healthcare is because health datasets tend to have an imbalanced class distribution. And you can even see this in the ECG dataset that we're using for this case study. Usually to address this, people would oversample the minority classes, so duplicate the examples in the training set. However, while this does increase the dataset size, you're not actually creating more data. So there's still the potential for bias in the model when it comes to synthesizing data for these minority classes. So basically in data augmentation, we would copy the minority class data and then modify or transform them slightly to get new examples to use in training. Traditional data augmentation methods are relatively naive and usually involve simple transformations like flipping, rotating, color changing, or cropping. So you can see in this example that even though the images have been modified, they're clearly the same base image. However, using generative AI, like with a GAN model, you can create completely new data for these minority classes. So in this example, you can see we have a completely new image that is still recognizable as Pikachu. So step 2, we have the training set now, and we want to train a diffusion model to turn text prompts into images. The reason we're using a diffusion architecture is because it has a number of strengths. So first, when compared to models like GANs, the training in diffusion is a lot more stable and they're less prone to mode collapse. You also see with diffusion models that they're more scalable to high dimension data. So this just means that they can handle the large resolutions without getting overwhelmed. And additionally, they're more robust against overfitting because the architecture encourages generation of diverse samples. So the generated data is less prone to bias. As for how researchers are using the model, they'll be interacting with it via text prompts. So the model will translate these prompts into images. And this is done using cross-attention, which is just a method of taking a prompt, tokenizing the symbols in that prompt, and then using the tokens to generate an image. So this is an example of a prompt that a researcher might use to generate synthetic data. And the cross-attention layer can be used to create new waveforms or even augment specific parts of an inputted waveform.
So now that we've walked you through our service and the general technology involved, let's talk about what makes our solution unique. Our solution ensures that the currently underrepresented populations are accounted for within research datasets. This will improve the representativeness of research findings, allowing the scientific community to understand more nuanced interventional impacts for that specific population that might be more difficult to recruit. The more balanced data sets generated by our service will help reduce bias and contribute to improving the accuracy of predictions and detection models as we reduce the limitation of insufficient positive cases. Additionally, the ability to generate high-quality synthetic data for research use will help reduce some of the resource burdens spent on real-life data collection. And lastly, our service can be scalable to other disease profiles as the model can be tailored for any existing data sets. Other than improving the EDI of research samples, our service can also help improve early disease detection and reduce healthcare costs. Using our heart failure case study, roughly 750,000 Canadians currently live with heart failure, with approximately 100,000 new diagnoses each year. If our service can help improve the sensitivity of a current AI ECG detection model by 10%, it would be able to identify and capture 10,000 additional new, true positive cases in the early detection phase. This equates to roughly $10.1 billion in healthcare costs prevented from heart failure-related hospitalizations.
But of course, with any AI solution, the question of responsible AI comes up, especially with regards to bias and data governance. However, our solution is actually very low risk as a result of our risk mitigation strategy. So the first risk that we identified was the possibility of training data being leaked. So a malicious actor could take advantage of the memorization behaviors common in diffusion models and extract the training data. And although in this case study we used open source data, this might not always be the case, and the confidentiality would be compromised. However, because the model is accessible only using text prompts, the typical pipelines for data extraction wouldn't work in this case, and any kind of malicious attempt to extract the training data in this way would be futile. The second risk is the possibility of the generated data not being diverse or seeing bias in the synthetic data. However, because we're using diffusion models versus GANs or autoencoders, these architectures are known for their high diversity, and this has also been studied extensively. And additionally, we'd be starting with pre-trained models, so this would reduce the amount of training data that is required to get high diversity in the output. And then finally, we have the possibility of there being a lack of trust or researchers not trusting that the synthetic data is high quality or mirroring real life. However, through ongoing collaboration with the user stakeholders during the fine-tuning of these models, we can prevent things like hallucinations and make sure that the synthetic data is analogous to what they're seeing clinically. So as I mentioned earlier, the model doesn't just create new data, but it can also modify inputted ECG waveforms. So the user could input a waveform, ask the model to modify it, and then compare the before and after to see if the intended change was made and validate it in that way. We should also note here that real-life data isn't perfect. The average data scientist spends more than 60% of their time organizing and cleaning data, and there's been extensive research conducted that shows that synthetic data has the potential to be higher quality and even more diverse than data collected in the real world.
So in summary, we believe that our service leverages the power of synthetic data to sustainably accelerate research through the ability to improve the quality of research and the validity of its findings. As a result, this has the potential to contribute to clinical cost savings through improved early detection and therefore reduction of hospitalizations. We will also give a voice to understudied and underrepresented populations, as we are now able to consider them through sufficient sampling. Lastly, the scope of our service can be expanded to include other imagings or modalities, such as clinical notes. And as a closing note, our ultimate goal is to use our unique expertise in health informatics to contribute to making future medical AI equitable for all. Before we finish, we want to thank Women in AI for giving us this opportunity, and to our mentors, William and Mita, for providing their insights and support. This concludes our presentation, and we'll be happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Stephanie, please go ahead. We have 5 minutes for Q&A.
Sounds good. Great presentation, team. And I love what you're doing. I would just like, have you looked further in regarding the regulations that Canada has around synthetic data in healthcare? From what I've heard, there's going to be new regulations coming up, and then new in the upcoming 2-3 years. So it's still like a gray area. What is your strategy to navigate that?
If you're referring to the AIDA, like the AI and Data Act, I think that's definitely something we'll have to monitor in the coming years. I've read it, and so far the regulation, like the specific clauses, are somewhat vague because there's a lot of things that still have to be implemented, like post hoc, but that's definitely something to consider. However, we are taking like the necessary security measures to make sure that, for example, with the training data extraction, that there isn't a risk of the confidentiality being breached there. So that's definitely something to consider in our risk mitigation.
My question is more on the actual synthetic data. Like, how does that's still a gray area of how it actually contributes to real, good, unbiased results, right?
Yeah, I can actually touch on that point. So we did do a little bit of research into like the policy landscape, as you mentioned, and government is actually starting to take note of this. So like, for example, the University of Waterloo has currently or recently caught the attention of the for a collaboration that they did with University of Ottawa, where there's their own cybersecurity and privacy institute is now collaborating with the Public Health Agency of Canada to kind of come up and with standards related to synthetic data use. So that's currently like being in the table for discussion, like you mentioned. But then prior to that actually becoming legislature, like the items that Natasha mentioned could help to minimize some of the risk. And it's important to note that partially synthetic data is actually already being used in some aspects of research to kind of look at, to protect the privacy of patients in certain parts when they're giving data for analysis. So I think the question that you mentioned is definitely valuable in the sense that policy will impact how like synthetic data and its trust in the system will garner. But there's also important to note that as we are progressing and as a system as in the Canadian health system and the policies are forming, there's definitely room on the discussion table, and synthetic data is already on the table for discussion. So it will be an interesting outcome to look out for as well. I hope that answers your question.
Any other judges? We have 2 more minutes to take questions.
Why did you choose cross attention for this diffusion model?
Basically, we're just concerned mostly about the training data being extracted, which is why we didn't want to just provide the raw model itself. And I think the benefit when using this in a clinical context is that a lot of the language used to describe these, clinical events are somewhat standardized. Like there's a certain phraseology. So for example, with more casual language, you have slang, there's a lot of subtext that can affect the meaning. So there's sort of a stronger potential when it comes to analyzing the clinical language to understand how these prompts would be translated into images.
Thank you.
Any other questions? We have 1 more minute left. Great. Thank you, Team 6.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have our final team, Team 20, Centennials. Would you like to start sharing your screen? Yeah, you can put it onto slideshow. Yeah, okay, whenever you're ready.
So hello everyone, we are team number 20, the Centennial Girls. Today we're excited to present our project, Cultive AI, the Intelligent Crop Rotation Planner, a solution for modern farming challenges. So modern farming faces numerous challenges such as climate change, pest infestations, diseases, soil degradation, and the adoption of new technologies. Additionally, there's a need for high quality food and market access, especially as a high significant portion of Canadian farmers are retiring soon. Our solution, Cultive AI, addresses these issues. It's a knowledge-based, customized crop rotation suggestion tool, an AI farming advisor, and an interactive community for information sharing. The target markets, Cultive AI aims at small and medium-scale farmers, young individuals interested in agriculture, agricultural support sectors, farming communities, and governmental bodies. There are 48,346 total number of farms in Ontario. Out of those, there are 28,057 crop farms. Suppose they will spend 5% of their earnings in technology, we can generate approximately 190 million CAD as NOI. Next, please. So how our project works? Cultive AI applies machine learning methodology to predict the best crop to grow with given environmental conditions. For example, suppose the farmer has the nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium content in the soil. With those data, what the traditional farmer likely may do is to determine the amount of fertilizers to purchase in order to enhance the yield of the crop that they often grow. However, with our platform, they could set up a profile and pass these important indicators to the system, and the system will recommend which crop is the best plant to plant next. They don't need to buy additional fertilizers, but instead they can change the crop that they grow in order to improve the soil health and could result to improved crop yield. Crops rotation often seems to be something complex to the farmer. They don't know how to start the process or which crop sequence should they adopt. Cultive AI would be their best friend. With an easy-to-use interface, they can ask questions. Our generative AI-powered recommendation tools would provide solutions according to the knowledge-based data store. The data store contains published research papers from professionals, which farmers may find it hard to understand. This could also be articles adopted by many farmers that they find effective. The Facebook-like interface makes Cultive AI a more appealing software. Farmers could ask questions as if they are using Facebook social media, where other farmers from the community could also answer their questions, making it more engaging. So for the AI core, my colleague Luki will discuss about the technology behind it.
For the core components of Cultive AI, we use LangChain as our framework, OpenAI as LLM, and Python as data storage. One of the techniques we use in Cultive AI is embedding, and LangChain is a popular and powerful framework which allows us to utilize different language models like OpenAI, Llamas, or Hugging Face. Through LangChain, we can extract information from different data format and load it to our Python database. And we can do similarity search to find out the best matching answer to the questions. And OpenAI will convert those results in a human language. So here's how it's part of our coding. And it shows how we use prompt template to format our question and how we use OpenAI to convert to human language and Python as a data store to store the image data. And this is the application we developed for demonstrating our idea. And here's the user interface, and we have some sort of input from the farmers. And when they click the submit button, the system will generate results based on their criteria. And for example, the legumes would be the best crop for the first for them to grow. And in the following part, my partner Minji will introduce our interface design.
Hello. Our personalized farmer profiles includes all the necessary information that can be used for crop rotation analysis. Location is a necessary field, but others are up to farmers' information because some might know their NPK values, but others might not. By using this interactive input data field, we can use crop rotation analysis system. Farmers can use their NPK values and generate the analysis based on their NPK values. They can use their predefined information in farmer's profile as mentioned in the previous slide, and then the generated analysis report will be saved. So we have easy and simple navigation and farmer-friendly outputs. We can not only view the generated reports, but also post the generated report to the Farmers Community Hub so that other farmers can get the shared information and also get other information of the better crop rotation. And in the Farmers Community Hub, they have feed page, post creation page, and sharing ideas page. In feed page, users can see diverse posts related to the farming and agricultural techniques. They can also post their concern in posting page, and they can do the Q&A with AI and other users. The feature of Q&A page is that both AI and human can interact. By using this Facebook-like interface, the collected data from thumbs up comments will be helpful in evaluating our models. Our revenue model includes subscription fees with tier plans, licensing for API access and white label solutions, in-platform advertising, grants, funding, pay-per-use or credits, and value-added services like consulting. We plan to establish technology partnerships, affiliate marketing, and data sharing agreements to enhance our platform's capabilities and reach. We recognize risks such as data accuracy, mobile bias, user accessibility, security, and scalability. Our mitigation strategies include regular data validation, bias audits, user-friendly interfaces, data encryption, and system architecture updates. While there are competitors like Norm AI and the Canadian Young Farmers Forum, Cultive AI stands out with its interactive interface, Farmers Hub, continuous model improvement, and real-time data integration. So here is our key milestone. Key milestone for Cultive AI include integrating real-time weather updates, soil composition analysis, historical crop yields data, and developing a collaborative platform for knowledge sharing. This is our team, and thank you for listening.
Thank you, team. We have 7 minutes left for Q&A. Usha, please go ahead.
Wonderful presentation. Did you think of, when you talked about the environmental adaptability, I know you have used Gen AI. So because Gen AI has a lot of compute, it is compute intensive. How much time it takes? I didn't notice much time taking in order to reflect what's to be displayed when you look put all the numbers?
Yeah, so for our product demonstration, we actually cut the loading part where the system generates, because it usually takes us
Because we are using not a paid version that takes time for us to give the result. But if we upgrade to a paid version, then it will be definitely much faster to get the generate the results.
Yes.
And since this is a pre-trained model from it won't take long to generate the recommendation.
Okay. Yeah. It should be in not even in milliseconds then. So
Yes, yes.
yeah. Okay. Yeah. And have you thought about one other question, like trying to test this demo to local farmers?
Yes, for sure. That will be our next step. So we already developed most of the features that we have in mind. So the target market that we have are local farmers, because we wanted to help them, and we also wanted to introduce generative AI not for the existing farmers, but for the young generations, because study shows that young Canadian generations are not really interested with farming. So who can do better? Who can help us better than the Canadian itself? Because they know better the soil, the weather, the soil, the condition, the condition. That's where our application comes in. Like, we are building an application that uses generative AI with an engaging platform for farmers to communicate and to learn from each other. So not just farmer specific, like the information that we get from local farmers, but as well as information that the LLM has in store for them.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Ivy?
Oh, hi. Yeah, so, oh, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess I have a question. So I was trying to read the output, right? And at the bottom it said, you know, the recommendations are dependent on sort of like your location, and then I couldn't read all of it, but like I know that from working on some crop rotation prediction, that crop rotation recommendations are also highly dependent on sort of what you've planted previously.
Yes.
So I'm just wondering, like, how do you work on getting that historic data from all the farmers?
Yeah, for this, we look into data sets that are for example, we search in Kaggle, and then we find research studies that yields an accuracy of 85% and above, and accuracy, precision, and recall. So we use those data sets that we have and then feed it to our model. That's how, and as well as we also done extensive research of published research papers, and as well as articles that are from a reliable source, and as well as integration from, for example, Canadian Canadian agricultural website. Yeah, we extract information from those websites, and then we use those to feed to our model.
Okay. So I guess like if you were to put this in production, like you would actually, you know, if I have a farm, I said I want to use this, you would actually work with me to get sort of like what have I planted on my farm for the past 5 years?
Yes, of course, we would need that. That's one of the prerequisite. That's one of the requirement that we will need from them.
Okay. And then I guess the other question is like, what is your sort of like, what's your monetization strategy? Is it to onboard these farmers to buy a subscription to your service?
Yeah, so we have these different strategies, such as like, for example, we are going to provide live demonstration to them for our product. So for the subscription fees, like we can show them the basic features that we have, and then there are advanced features like data analysis, like integration with other data sources. So by that, the subscription increases. Like, we can, at first we can provide them free use of the platform, and then if they want to do more, such as advanced data analysis, then that's where we can ask for payments from them.
Okay, Thank you.
Thank you.
Ian?
I think so. First off, just a comment. I really do love the idea of using, some of what we're seeing with generative AI to make a large amount of complicated information easily accessible, and to really condense it and personalize it. So I think there is something really wonderful in that idea. I'm just sort of curious about the team and if they've given any sort of consideration to some of the financial risk involved for your end user, right? Like ultimately the true cost or the opportunity cost of following your recommendation, this with the farmer, and like it or not, they are they're competing in a market, right? Like they're at the end of the day need to sell that crop. And so I'm wondering if the team has given any thought to optimizing the sort of total market as well. I'm thinking of a large number of farmers who get similar recommendations to grow similar types of products and inadvertently drive the price down, only to maybe question their subscription to the service you built.
I think a part of based on the soil content in the and their farms in the soil to make recommendation. We can also do research on the market trend and to see which crop is the best, which will the most demanding crop, so that we can provide such suggestions to them to improve their profit as well. I'm sorry.
No, and sorry, it was sort of a funny question then. Is there maybe in the future of this idea an opportunity to sort of optimize? I'm thinking of a large number of farmers who get similar recommendations to grow similar types of products and inadvertently drive the price down, only to maybe question their subscription to the service you built.
I think a part of based on the soil content in the and their farms in the soil to make recommendation. We can also do research on the market trend and to see which crop is the best, which will the most demanding crop, so that we can provide such suggestions to them to improve their profit as well. I'm sorry.
No, and sorry, it was sort of a funny question then. Is there maybe in the future of this idea an opportunity to sort of optimize across the entire user base, or perhaps for a given local area, or perhaps at a market, and then the opportunity you can sort of sell to the user then is it's bigger than just sort of optimizing based on environmental outcome, but that they end up with more cash in their pockets at the end of the day, which I know a lot of producers are also hoping for.
We're just right on time. Is that okay, Ivy?
Oh, do you want me to just
Yeah,
I just
we're
wanted
done with the
to
questions.
Yeah, I just wanted to say one last thing. I think like one of the things that you could also potentially tie this to is the issue of food insecurity, even in developed nations like Canada and the US.
Yes, that's a very good information.
When we do study, we do find a lot of challenge at the new entrants to the industry, and they may find it difficult to enter the industry because they have so many unknowns. And before they can really execute a plan to enter the industry, like I don't know what kind of crops to grow and what sorts of conditions and tools that they need for building up their business. So with our tool, we can provide suggestions, or they may even gather information from the other experienced farmers and then enter the industry with the help from the other farmers and also our system.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everybody. We have come to the end of all the presentations.